What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show presented by Bet Online. The Blazers lose today 118-113 against the Utah Jazz as they switch their way into a loss there down the stretch in crunch time. We'll have the recap, but first, as I said, this is the Blazers Uprise post-game show presented by Bet Online. Use promo code BELIEVE to receive 50% rewards. Thank you to Bet Online for making the watch party earlier today possible. If you guys joined us for the watch party, thank you for tuning into that. And shout out to Bet Online for showing us the support. And if you want to get in on some NBA action, betting, whatever you want, make sure you use promo code BELIEVE and you receive 50% rewards. There's always interesting parlays and stuff on there, so it's always cool to go on there and check things out. Thank you to Bet Online for sponsoring this post-game show. Anyway, Eric, so we were just live on the watch party. If you tuned in for the watch party, you saw me absolutely lose my mind with rage. Because if you've known me for a while, if you've watched us for a while, you know that the thing I hate most is when the Blazers lose games in stupid ways that I can see coming. That I know, so the Blazers down the stretch there, Eric, I mean, they did a lot of things wrong in this game, but they fought back. Props to them for fighting back. Dame gets hurt. That sucks. He was terrible today shooting the ball. I assume the calf was bothering him. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it just flared up in the second half. I don't know. I don't really want to speculate. There's no wrong or right speculation in regards to his whole injury, but he re-injured the calf that he sat out multiple games with earlier this year. But, I mean, this game came down to the Blazers had a 108-107 lead with a couple of minutes to go. And I said on that watch party, okay, just got to get a couple stops. And the next two possessions was a three-pointer and a three-point play. 6 points in two possessions for Utah. Game over in crunch time. On both those possessions, and on a couple other possessions down the stretch, Drew Eubanks is in the game, Eric. And the Blazers are auto-switching Drew Eubanks onto Jordan Clarkson, and then Jordan Clarkson's attacking that matchup. On the final bucket that Clarkson hit after that 6 points in two possessions, there was another offensive possession for Utah that Clarkson, legitimately, all Utah did was they had Jared Vanderbilt come up and set a token screen. It wasn't even a screen to do anything. It was just a screen because they knew the Blazers were going to automatically switch it no matter if it was a good screen or not. The Blazers automatically switch Eubanks onto Clarkson. Before that even happened, I said, here, Vanderbilt's going to run up to the ball and he's going to set a screen so they switch. And then they did it. I said, see, there it is. Now Clarkson's going to score. And then Clarkson scores. This is the second game where Eubanks has played down the stretch either against a small ball lineup that he shouldn't have been in against in Dallas, or tonight, the Blazers are auto-switching him on to Jordan Clarkson, auto-switching him on to guards, which is an utter mismatch for us, and the other team picks it apart. You do one of two things. If you want to switch, you put in a switchable lineup. Their center is Lauri Markkanen. You don't need Drew Eubanks in the game there. You put in Nasir Little or Shane Sharp or somebody, right? So that you can have switchable defenders where you can switch Nas onto Clarkson or even Shaden Sharp or just somebody who has more mobility than a Drew Eubanks, right? You either sub in a switchable lineup or you don't freaking switch. What you don't do is have your backup center in the game and then switch him on to guards when you should never be switching him on to Jordan Clarkson in crunch time. This is such a frustrating loss, a terribly played game. Second game lost, 1-2 on this home trip after a great road trip. But it's a game that the Blazers did a lot of wrong in, fought back, were in this game, had a lead late, and then they lose because of just the terrible decision to switch Drew Eubanks on any pick and roll, no matter how good the screen was down the stretch, and it got picked apart. I am so frustrated when this Blazers team loses games like this, and I think Chauncey's been good this season, but I don't know. Stuff like this makes me lose a little bit of faith because that was absolutely terrible. Anyway, Eric, that's my rant. What do you think about the switching there late and the rest of this game?
Well, just want to say two things before I really get into it. One is it's not on Eubanks. So this isn't us saying that Eubanks is horrible or anything like that. He actually was really good in the second half of this game. Not so good in the first half, but you could say that about most of our players on our team outside of maybe Nurk had a good first half. But yeah, not much to be positive about in the first half. But you can't have him you can't, if you're going to switch everything without even trying to fight through it, you can't have him in the game. And then the other point I want to make before I say anything else is this isn't like hindsight or us like saying this didn't work out, so this is what you have to do. Go back and watch the post game. Torrey
or the watch party.
Yeah. Torrey literally says, we're going to get screwed on this possession because we're going to switch Eubanks. Jared Vanderbilt's going to come up and set a screen, and we're going to switch Eubanks onto him, and Clarkson's going to score. And he did exactly that. So it's not that. And then I guess I have one more thing I want to say is it doesn't matter how many shots Dame missed in the first half or the third quarter or whatever. If we have the lead or it's tied late in the game, all that matters is what happens after that point. Yes, I would love to blow out teams and not have to worry about any of this late game situational stuff that Chauncey has been absolutely dreadful at the last 4 games. I would love to not be worried about that, right? But we had the lead in the fourth quarter, despite Dame going 2 for 14 or whatever he finished at. Like, this is late game situational coaching. Chauncey absolutely wet the bed once again tonight. I don't know why they're auto-switching. I don't get it. Fight over the screen, especially if it's Eubanks' guy, if he's in the game. And if he is going to, if Eubanks is on Clarkson, and Winslow did the same exact thing, so I can't just blame Eubanks. Clarkson is right-handed. That's his dominant driving hand. He likes to get there and reach up with his right hand, scoop it up when he drives. And we ushered him into his spot. Like, we're just letting him go in, and then we reach in and foul and get an and 1-2. It's like it's just bad coaching. You have someone who is not capable of switching onto those players, the best players on the other team in those situations. And you either don't switch or you don't have him in the game. And if he is going to be in the game and you are going to be switched, at the very least you say, make him make a tough shot. Do not give him his right hand driving to the basket. And I don't understand how that's that difficult. We both mentioned stuff before they even happened that was going to happen. You did it 3 plays in a row. And it's just, you could see it coming a mile away if you understand. And I don't get what Chauncey's seeing in these situations, man. I just don't understand. You have guys like Nasir Little who, he played well again tonight. Give him a chance to close out some of these games if he's playing well. Sharp was terrible on defense, so you can't really lean on him too much, but you might as well throw him in there and learn how to play defense, and maybe he gets better because he's in those situations or something. But why? I don't understand why we have these lineups in at the end of the game. And it costs us 2 games now with the Dallas game and the game tonight, having our center in the game. If you're going to bench Nurk in the final minutes, fine. But they don't have a center in there. Olenek wasn't in there. Why is Eubanks in there? It makes no sense. He's not a great rebounder on the defensive end anyway. Failed to box out several times in this game. Mm-hmm. So, it's not even for rebounding because he's not that lineup's not a good rebounding lineup anyway. So it makes no sense to me. And then the last game against the Nets, we have Dame and Ant in there, and it literally cost us the game because they're our weak side rebounders and can't get a body on Royce O'Neal. And then we had situations where we were switching guards onto KD, and it just makes no sense. If you're going to be a good defensive team, it starts with the coaching, it starts with the lineups, and you cannot auto-switch your worst perimeter defender onto their best perimeter scorers at the end of games. It just can't happen. You have to find a way to fight through it or have a better lineup that you can switch with in the game.
Yeah, I mean, his situational coaching has been bad. I think it maybe got glossed over with that hot start. They start 10-4, now they're 10-6.
Well, we hit big shots too. We hit clutch shots to win games. But if we end up losing some of those games, you maybe start to question things a lot more too.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Since that Dallas game, starting with that Dallas game, the last 4 games, he's been situationally poor. And, like, to an alarming extent. You start off the game, you talk about, oh, we want to put Jeremy Grant's length up against guards, De'Aaron Fox, John Morant, so that he can bother them, right? And those guards run a lot of pick and rolls. That's the one thing Jeremy Grant struggles with, is screen navigation. We've talked about that, right? But then you go up against Kevin Durant, and it's like, we're going to put Josh Hart against them. You know, we're going to put length on small guards to bother them, but then when we go up against length, we're not going to put length on Kevin Durant. Then we're going to put Josh Hart on him, right? You put Jeremy Grant up against De'Aaron Fox, Josh Hart on Kevin Durant. We've been outspoken about how the matchups to start games have been poor, but situational, like, defensive things, switching was getting us in trouble at times earlier in this game, and we were struggling to rebound. When you switch, it's harder to rebound because you end up with a small on a big down low. So it's like, if you're Jordan Clarkson with Eubanks on you, and you can just walk into a 3 because he's not quick enough to contain a drive, so he has to give you some space, okay, shoot the pull-up 3, because even if you miss, you got, I don't know, Dame or Ant or whoever trying to box out a big man, right? Like, switching, I don't like switching unless you have a switchable lineup in there. I know that's the way the NBA is trending, but you have some switchable lineups that you can go to, some small lineups, and he doesn't go to it. So, the situational coaching today, down the stretch, was absolutely terrible, absolutely pissed me off. And that's the thing, is like, I'm not going to sit here blaming Eubanks or bashing Eubanks for not being able to guard Jordan Clarkson on the perimeter. Like, we know that. Nurkic, I wouldn't want Nurkic against Jordan Clarkson on the perimeter. I wouldn't want Drew Eubanks against Jordan Clarkson on the perimeter. I don't want a center, most centers in the NBA, against Jordan Clarkson on the perimeter with the game on the line. Like, that's pretty obvious. And that's even after he struggled during this game. I mean, until those last 2 clutch shots, he was 8 for 21, under 40% from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, had 6 turnovers. So it's like, Jordan Clarkson was not having a good game. He was inefficient. He was turning the ball over, 1 for 6 from 3. But still, he's a guy that can get hot no matter how many shots he missed. He has that irrational confidence, and he can make a big play in crunch time if he has a matchup he likes. Don't just sit there and hand him a matchup that he likes. Of course that if they know you're switching, what happened to switching up defenses, right? Utah knew we were switching down the stretch, and it was a situation where, okay, well, Vanderbilt, go run past the ball, so Eubanks switches on to Clarkson, and then we have things right where we want it. That's what Utah did down the stretch. So you can point to a number of things with this game, right? Like, we'll talk about Dame, we'll talk about, lack of shooting and that sort of thing. But what have I said in the past, Eric? Control the controllables, okay? Mm-hmm. Dame goes 1 for 12 from 3. Dame isn't trying to go 1 for 12 from 3, but sometimes you have bad shooting nights. As I said, maybe it's the calf, maybe it wasn't, but then he hurts the calf. You can't control those things, right? Sometimes you're going to have poor shooting nights from your best players, and it sucks, absolutely. And it doesn't look good on the stat sheet. And yeah, it hurts the team in the course of the game, but you want Dame shooting threes. Like, you don't want Dame to stop shooting threes. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, is like, shooting threes is not like, if you could make every three, you'd make every 3. It's not a controllable. What is a controllable is, what lineup do you have in at the end of the game? With Dame and Ant against Brooklyn for some reason on a final defensive possession, and then they're caught trying to get the rebound and they get a tip in over those 2 guards, right? Like, that's a controllable. You shouldn't have had both those guys in there for defensive purposes and then trying to get a rebound. They're not good defensive players and they're small. So how does that help you? That's a controllable that Chauncey missed. A controllable is you're switching everything by plan and you got Drew Eubanks in the game. Why? That is something you're in complete control of, and it's absolutely horrible. So if we come out and we lose a game because Dame's missing good threes and they're hitting a bunch of tough shots, and it's a well-played game on both sides, it's just they make shots and we don't. But like, in terms of things we can control, effort, what we run offensively, the types of shots we settle for, what we're running defensively and with certain lineups, if you control those things and you still lose, I'm completely okay with that loss. I would sit here saying, okay, good on Utah. We just missed shots that we probably should have made, and it's tough. I've had a couple games like that earlier this year. But when you completely fail down the stretch, in the way that Chauncey Billups did, switching Eubanks onto Jordan Clarkson, that's the type of stuff that triggers me, man. Like, I lost my mind on that watch party stream. because it's so frustrating when you can see it coming and they still do it, and the result is exactly what you'd expect.
Yep. And yeah. Let me read some donations. I want to say something about that. But let's get caught up. Was Alex Gomez the first one?
Alex Gomez, yeah, I have it.
$5 donation. Ant should not be point guard, but he's good as shooting guard, though. Yeah, so Ant had some trouble handling the ball early in the season, but I feel like the last few games he hasn't really been sloppy with the ball too much. I don't think he had a single turnover last game, if I'm not mistaken. Tonight was not good, obviously. The kind of turnovers he had, the one where we got the ball and he went right up the middle and lost it. And then Winslow did the same thing, dribbled it off his foot or kicked it or something and lost the ball right after we got that challenge. I don't know. I mean, for years we heard, Ant can't play point guard. And then it was, Ant has to be the point guard. He can't play off ball, even though he's like one of the best off ball shooters in the league. I think he's good at both. I'm not worried about that. And I think, we got to remember he's still young. He's still relatively new to running a team and having the responsibility of ball handling and setting up teammates and stuff like that. So I still think there's a lot to learn for him to be better in that role, but I absolutely think he is going to be eventually capable of doing both the shooting guard position, off ball, and running the show. So I'm not worried about it. How about you?
I mean, he has to get better handling pressure around half court, like extended away. He's just not good enough at handling that type of stuff. And he had a turnover that was an over and back where he struggled handling that. Like, that's something he has to get better at handling, because I think the book is starting to be out on him. Like, okay, when he's the point guard, if you hound him around half court, you have a good chance of forcing a turnover. Like, if you're a point guard in the NBA playing big minutes, or even if you're a shooting guard that plays point guard with a bench unit, it can't be a situation where somebody can just get into you defensively around half court and you're not able to handle it. Because he had a pass. Was it him or was it Dame? There was a pass to, like, the first pass into a play where the ball handler was being hounded and the pass went out of bounds. And it was either Dame to Ant or Ant to Dame, with one of them running up. I think it was Ant to Dame.
I think they both had one of them.
Yeah, and it was just a bad.
And Ant had one of the
I think it was Ant had a bad pass out of bounds, trying to make the first pass into a set or into an offense because there was ball pressure at the top. He has to get better handling that. Everything else I think he's capable of, but he's had some bad turnovers this year when he's gotten pressured away from the hoop. And or picked up full court or that sort of thing, where he has to handle the ball in space against an aggressive defender that's being physical with him. So that is something for him to improve, because he had a couple of his turnovers today were because of that.
Yeah, they called timeout a couple times, put Sexton in to hound whoever the main ball handler was, and he did a good job of disrupting them and forcing some turnovers. And that has happened several times this year now. We got to be stronger with the ball. And also those might be the times to run Hart on ball, or Winslow, if he's in the game, have one of those guys set up the offense versus Dame or Ant if they're getting hounded, and run Sexton off a bunch of screens or something, so he can't be physical with them. And if he is, that's probably an off-ball foul. So it's just frustrating that we play right into that too when the other team starts to become physical.
Yep, absolutely. You want to read the next one?
Yeah, Rollers Kate, thank you for the $2 donation. Seems like a different team from 1 to 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it does. I don't even know what's necessarily different. I think the effort level is a little bit worse. Like, doing the little things, like boxing out, is worse. Drew Eubanks missed that box out where Dame got cleared out by Jared Vanderbilt, right? Like, it was a weird, kind of a weird play, and Vanderbilt just cleared out Dame on a rebound. But why was Vanderbilt even able to get there was because Drew Eubanks didn't box out. There was a play where Josh Hart didn't box out in this game that led to an offensive rebound. And then our perimeter defense, like, on the ball, I think is a little bit worse. And that's not even necessarily leading to just players being able to drive and score, but also it's making us help, and it's situations where the initial guy will drive, the big man will come over and try and help, and then either the lob is there, or in this game, this happened a couple of times, the big man comes over to help, he forces the driver to miss a shot, but then his guy gets the offensive rebound because he went over to help. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing is when your point of attack defense isn't good enough on the ball and you allow guys to drive at you, even if they don't score, it's still hard to deal with, because if you send help, then wherever that help is coming from, a lot of times is able to get offensive rebounds. And that was a problem in this game as well. So I think defensively it's that, and then the bad situational stuff, and then they're switching more now, and it's not working. It was better when they mixed in more zone. They didn't mix in much zone this game, and when they did, it was fine, I think. Gave up a couple of buckets, but they just resorted to switching down the stretch, which made no sense. So like defensively they're a little bit worse, but they had a good first quarter. It's just like the effort level seems to wane, and they let guys get going. They let Malik Beasley get going in this game. Their closeouts aren't as good as they were earlier this season. Like the defense is worse. And then obviously, like if Dame hits shots today, we have 125, 130 points. Like our offense, I think, is okay right now. We had some good possessions with ball movement in this game. It's just always going to look worse when your best player is struggling to shoot the ball and potentially still laboring with an injury that seemingly didn't fully heal. So I think that's the biggest things that are different. What do you think?
Yeah, to the defensive thing, I have a problem with, I was going to say, before the season started, I said this, I didn't want to see this team have long stretches of games or games where they didn't show like good effort, And now this whole homestand was questionable effort-wise. And you can't play good defense if you're half-assing it out there, right? Like you can't be lackadaisical. You have to all be in sync. You all have to play hard. You have to fly around. I feel like this team kind of plays like scared. Like once they started winning, it's like, oh man, we can't lose because then like we're pretenders, not contenders. It's like, so like once they lose a game, it's like, oh man, like, and they come out and play like that. Like I don't get it. Like they don't. I agree with Willer's Kate. They played so much harder earlier in the season in a lot of these games. And, it takes a lot of energy to come back. But we've been down like every game except for this one, ironically, at the beginning of the game. I think we jumped out to a 21-9 lead or something like that at the beginning of this one. And we were definitely up 10 at one point in that first quarter. And it's like, okay, we missed a ton of threes. We were like 1 for 9, I think, at the beginning of the game shooting. And somehow we still had a lead and held them to 20 points in the first quarter. And then we give up 38 in the second quarter, look completely flat. You'd think, oh, halftime, Chauncey will get this turned around at halftime, right? Like laying to him about the effort or whatever. And they come out completely, that third quarter, they look like they didn't even want to be there. Like, and Utah played last night in a tough game that came down to the end. So there's no excuse for the effort level being outworked tonight by a team coming off a back-to-back if you're a hungry team and want to win. And that's just inexcusable in my mind. And I would have sent a message a little earlier. We talked about this on the stream. Like, sometimes you gotta bench certain players if they're not bringing an effort level, even if it's your star players. And I felt like tonight would have been a good time to send that message. But then we come back, and we're right there at the end, and then we just have dumb reasons for why we lose a game, and it's frustrating.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you to Boom. $5 donation says, "Yo, Eric, what's your drink of choice on a rough night like this? Was at the game with my cousin, and ouch, you look like a whiskey and Coke kind of guy."
Yeah, I like whiskey and Coke. I like rum and Coke, that kind of stuff. I'm not a huge drinker. I only drink occasionally. I think the last time I got really drunk was when Stas got fired. I don't really drink that much. Just kind of a quiet person, family guy. So yeah, not much drinking involved in my life. But yeah, I do enjoy whiskey and Coke or rum and Cokes sometimes.
Yep. Shout
Oh,
Cody.
and well, real quick, Boom.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen you in here in a while. Earlier in the season, we missed one of your donations. I just wanted to say sorry for that, and we appreciate your support.
Yeah, good memory on that. Yeah, definitely try and read off everything that's what we try and do. Occasionally we'll miss some. Unfortunately, I wish YouTube just had a donation feed that kept track. They do, but I have to click on it early enough in order to get it to log everything. So it's kind of hit or miss. Shout out to Cody Franklin, $5 donation, says, let's all just close our eyes and meditate. Think about Bill Walton. Think about the ball movement. Think about that championship Blazers team. With no three-point line.
Tori, have you ever been to a volcano?
Have I ever been to a volcano?
Let's just get off on a some random tangent right now.
I mean, honestly, that'd be a lot better than talking about this freaking team right now. But thank you, Cody, for the $5 donation. Appreciate it. Shout out David Kutsar, two $2 donos. I'll read off the second message after I read Carson's because I do want to segue that into talking about Dame. But Carson Dunn, $5 dono, says, even though we lost in a disappointing fashion, my wife and I had fun at the game. Also, happy birthday, Zach Collins, who favored our tweet while wearing his jersey. Happy birthday to Zach Collins, and I'm glad you had fun, Carson.
Yeah, what's up, Carson? Thanks for the donation.
Yep. And then David Kutsar, $2 dono. Dame is declining. I don't know if it's just a shooting slump. I mean, I don't know how much his calf was bothering him, but the fact that he re-aggravated it says to me that it wasn't 100% when he came back. Right? Is that a reasonable conclusion to come to?
I mean, it's possible it felt fine and then it re-aggravated too. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's also possible it hurts more when you're playing bad, I mean, I'm not saying Dame's faking it or anything, but maybe, we're winning games. It's oh, I can live through it, but then, we start playing bad. He's one for 12 from three. Maybe it's oh man, this is bothering me tonight. I'm just going to sit this one out because I don't have it, type of thing. Because I know he's definitely trying to prove that he's not injury prone or whatever. But yeah, I mean, even with the calf injury, it was 4 games he shot bad. He's had stretches much longer in his career where he shot bad. I don't think you can take anything from a shooting slump, good or bad. Just at the beginning of the season, after the first game, he was super hot.
Yeah, he had back-to-back 41-point games. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't think it's a question of is he's washed. I mean, he a couple weeks ago dropped 2 41-point games, or I guess it's almost a month ago now, but against Phoenix, against LA, 41-41, against Denver, 31, next game, 6 for 13 for the field, had 22 against Miami, which was the game he got hurt, probably on his way to another 30-point game, only played 26 minutes in that one, and then came back against Miami, had 19. The next 2 games, 8 for 16, 26 against Charlotte, then against Dallas was 6 for 16, 29, against San Antonio, 8 for 20, for 22, then the last 2 games 8 for 24 and 2 for 14. So it's the past 2 games have been bad. Against San Antonio, he just didn't shoot the ball well, but even when he came back, he was good against Charlotte, and he was I guess he struggled against Dallas as well, was only 2 for 7 from 3. But I mean, that's kind of the course of a season, right? On the season, he's still shooting 36% from 3, even though the last 2 games he's 4 for 24. But that's the thing, though, is if it is bothering him, then he's going to overcompensate for it with his other leg, and it's going to cause some twist and stuff. And he was missing threes left and right. Normally, he doesn't miss threes left and right as much as he did tonight. So I don't know. He just needs to get healthy. I don't think he's washed. I wouldn't worry about him being washed. I said that after the first game. Then he had back-to-back 41-point games. So it's just he needs to be healthy, I think. And I assume that this calf wasn't 100% considering he re-aggravated it.
And let's just be honest here. No one freaking knows. I mean, no one knows if Dame's going to be fine the rest of his career or the next couple of years and he'll be back to his old self. And if you think he's washed and he's never going to be the same again and this is going to be something that plagues him and he'll never be fully healthy and he's always going to have to deal with injuries like this from now on, no one knows. Let's let it play out. Let's figure it out. you could be right, but it's just a freaking guess at this point. So let's just take a step back, see how Dame does this year after, 40, 50 games. If this is like the situation where he's continually injured and stuff like that, then maybe we can start talking about, oh man, this sucks. Like Dame was healthy most of his career and now he's going to deal with all this nagging stuff. Like maybe that's a conversation, but like anyone saying he's washed, like people did that after game 1 too. And people did that last year and then he comes out and plays well. Like, but like maybe he just had a few good games too. Like it's a case where no one knows. So like let's not like make stuff up or say for sure it's definitive one way or another.
Here's what I'll say too, is I believe up through the San Antonio game, or maybe it was going into the San Antonio game, one of the two, but he was scoring at the highest rate on the highest efficiency of his career.
Yeah.
Like per 100 possessions, he was averaging 40 points per 100 possessions with a true shooting percentage that was 3 percentage points higher than any other season the rest of his career. So that's the thing is like you take out the last 2, maybe it was 3, but 2 or 3 games, and he's having a career year, right?
Into the Nets game, I think it was his highest.
Yeah, into the Nets game. So 2 games ago,
because we talked about that on that stream before the game. Yeah,
two games ago. Yeah, 2 games ago, like he was scoring at the highest rate, at the highest efficiency ever. You know what I mean? And now it's like, oh, 2 bad games, really, and we're asking if he's. Yeah. Well, now it's not. That's why I said 2 games ago, because it's not going to be the same. But that's the thing. It's like
so you can have those drastic.
2 bad games where his calves may be hurting him, and then it's questions of like, is he washed? That's why I agree with you. Like, let's just take a step back and not speculate on it, because nothing suggests that he's washed so far this season. He has a bad couple of games, might be hurt, and shoots the ball bad. Like, that happens all the time, but it's now, unfortunately, he's at that age where people are going to ask that question.
And so Sean Hyken just tweeted out 6 minutes ago, Damian Lillard says this calf injury isn't as bad as the first one. Seemed to think he'll miss a couple games on the road trip, but doesn't expect it to be an extended thing. He had an MRI tonight, no results yet.
I mean, can we just I don't know, because Dame wants to play. He's probably saying, yeah, I'm good to go, but he's not 100%. So if Dame says a couple of games, maybe it should be a couple of weeks. Like, I don't know. I don't know how long he should sit out, but you want him to get 100% because you don't want this to linger. You need him to get healthy. And this team has shown that they can win games without him. But, I mean, at this point, Eric, we're trying to come out of November above 500, which I said before the season was good. Expectations got raised because of how well we started out, but it's still an extremely tough month of November. So the goal was always come out of it 500 or better. Now we only need one more win in the month of November in order to come out 500 or better. But obviously people want, to be 15-7 instead of 11-11, obviously. But the other thing is the number 1 seed in the West right now is, we'll look at the standings later, but right now it's Utah 12-6. We're 1 game behind them. They're 12-6. Like, the West, there's no dominant team, dude. We could be 11-11 after November and still get the 1 seed later on this season because it's a jam-packed West. There is 9 teams separated by 2 games. So it's just, we've seen some success, we've seen some struggle. Dame needs to get healthy, and they need to get better situationally because I think they've lost a couple games situationally. They could be 12-4 if they did things better situationally in the past 4 games. But, they've won close games too. So it's like, where is this team right now? I mean, it's a good team that has to play the right way and needs to be better situationally coached by Chauncey and needs guys to get healthy. Gary Payton II would be a huge addition to this team. I think Gary Payton II would have been in crunch time. Maybe Chauncey would have felt more comfortable going small or going switchable if he had Gary Payton II out there. And having Gary Payton II getting through screens, guarding a Jordan Clarkson is an asset. He'll help the team out. So, long term, I'm not panicked by this. It's just, it's frustrating to lose a game like this, man, is where I come back to. And it's frustrating to lose a game because we're switching Drew Eubanks onto Jordan Clarkson, and we know it's going to get picked apart, and that's just what's going to happen. I hate losing games that way. Absolutely hate it. So it's short term, very pissed off and frustrated. Long term, I'm not not terribly worried. It's just obvious how this team should play. You got to get Dame healthy. Hopefully Gary Payton II comes back. And then, I don't know, we'll know more about this team a month from now, and then we can start talking trades and trade deadline stuff and adding to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, shout out Cody Franklin, $2 donut, says Dame has looked injured last 3 games. He's injured. Yeah, I mean, possible. I don't know. It's just
thought
speculation.
He looked fine.
Yeah, I think he's looked okay. It's just hard to say. So, I mean, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know.
And Cody, you're absolutely losing it in chat, man. I mean, yeah, it seems bad right now, but I mean, it's not. The sky isn't falling either. Like, it's not the end of the world. It just really sucks that we lost 2 out of 3 on this homestand. It didn't play well even in the win, but it's not like we're the worst team ever, like you're making it seem in chat.
I mean, I don't think this team is, like, over the entire 16 games on average, I don't think this team has played noticeably well. There was a lot of wins earlier this season where it's like, this team didn't even play that well and they won. So we're 10-6, and against a hard schedule, and we haven't played too well, and Dame's missed time, other guys have missed time, and Dame is hurt again, and we're 10-6. Like, we're fine. You can't say anything definitive about this team at all, I think, at this point. But I'm still bought in. Like, if this team plays the right way, this team is really, really good. If this team has guys healthy, and Dame's himself, and Ants himself, and Jeremy Grant's himself, and they're playing the right way, this team is one of the best teams in the league.
But, okay. Cody, let me ask you a question. Where did you predict the Blazers to be before the season started?
Yeah, 16 games in. What was your record?
I guarantee you it wasn't 10-6.
Yeah, so...
You probably thought they were 8-9 seed before the season, right? I mean, there's no shame in that. I thought they were, 8 to 10.
And we're the 1 seed right now if we don't switch Drew Eubanks onto Jordan Clarkson, onto Smalls, you know what I mean? Or if Dame makes more than 1 for 12 from 3.
I get what you're saying, Cody, but, like, we've seen them play well at times, like, and they have a good defense. It'll probably go down after this game a little bit, but I mean, we've consistently, like, I don't think there was one little stretch where we fell out of the top 10 in defense, and it looked like maybe things were catering, and then we got right back into it. Like, we're a top 10 defense this year. Even though we do all these stupid things, it's still top half defense at worst. So, like, there's a lot of positive. I still think there's a lot of growth on offense. Ants shooting splits are a little down compared to last year. Dame, obviously, after these last couple games, is down a little bit. Like, there's still ways they can get better. And they've shown that they can play really, really good at times. So, it sucks because if it's the opposite way, like if we get off to a bad start and all of a sudden we've won 4 in a row or something, like, we're all talking about how good this team could be right now, right? It's just we used up our good games early. Now we have kind of a dip. It's just going to be how this team responds.
Yeah,
and hopefully we don't see them play like we played this last few games.
Here's the thing. When you're trying to analyze something long term, don't be a prisoner of the moment, okay? Like, if you're talking about this specific game, you should probably be pissed off at some of the things that happened in this specific game. But if you're trying to make a definitive statement or come to a conclusion about this basketball team, like, long term, don't be a prisoner of the moment, because that's a great point. If we had won 4 games in a row and we're 10-6 and now almost in first place, like, we'd be saying, "Oh my goodness, look how good this team is." But since the 4-game winning streak, since the 4-game winning streak happened at the start of the season, it was, oh well, look, we're good. Here's the thing: after preseason, everybody was panicking about this team. If we had this 4-game stretch if we had this 4-game stretch at as the first 4 games of the season. After 4 games, people would have been 1-3, losing 2 games at home against Utah, who people didn't realize would have been good yet, and Brooklyn without Kyrie and barely beating the Spurs. Like, people would have been panicking and saying, wow, we might be the worst team in the league. At least we might get Wembanyama, right? If you switch these 2 4-game stretches, it's a completely different tone right now, and it would have been a completely different tone after 4 games. So that's why it's just like looking at everything in its totality is the way that it has to be. I still think like, I don't think anything. This team has not played well the last 4 games. They are a contender if they play the right way. Like, if they clean up their turnovers and play the style of basketball that they've been playing and have Dame, Ant, and Jeremy Grant be who they can be, this team is a contender. But they've gotten away from that, due in part like Dame struggled the past couple of games. They've gotten stagnant. They've still turned the ball over. The defense isn't as... the effort level isn't the same. And then situationally, Chauncey's making mistakes now. So it's like we're getting away from that. This team is still capable of that. The only question is, can they consistently find that throughout the course of the season going into the playoffs? That is the question. So it's way too soon to definitively say that they can or cannot find that consistency, because they've shown the potential. They just haven't shown the consistency yet.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not happy about this game, right? But Dame went 2 for 14, 1 of 12 from 3. Ant went, 4 of 13 from 3, 7 of 19 from the field. We had 17 turnovers. The effort level was terrible at points in this game. And we were still up 1 late in this game with a chance to win. Like, that's, to me, okay, like, yes, like, I'm so mad that we're, like, not doing it. But at the same time, you could also see a path where if we just clean some of this stuff up, like your video about we could be contenders if we clean up the turnovers. So you eliminate those, and then all of a sudden it doesn't matter if Dame has a bad shooting night or Ant has a bad shooting night, because we're still good enough defensively and we're not turning the ball over, giving them easy baskets, so they're having to make tough shots the entire game. And things are different. If we don't, once we get the lead, then like do this stupid auto switching crap at the end of games. And that's why I tweeted out that I feel like 3 of the last 4 games, or all 3 of these losses in the last 4 games are due to late situational stuff, because once you tie the game late or take the lead late, nothing matters. It didn't matter that Dame was 1 for 12 or he was hurt. It only matters what you do from that point on. And we're going to have to listen to the Chauncey interview tonight, because I saw a quote from him that's really bugging me right now. But
yeah, we'll listen to it. We got to get through player cards and stuff. I want to get through those more quickly than we normally do. But
my thing is, that's like for all the people who are being like super negative, oh, this team's a play-in team, but like they've also shown flashes. That's the sign of a really good team, that you can play completely like out of your element. Like, you could have your best shooters do absolutely nothing in a game. You can play terrible defense and still almost win. That's the sign of a good team, not a bad team.
And I mean, the last 3 losses, we were either tied or had a lead in like the final 3 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. And it was due to like late game situational mistakes, right? So the last 7 games, we won 4 of them, lost 3. The 3 losses were by 5 points to Dallas, 2 points to Brooklyn off that Royce O'Neal tip-in over our guards who were in for some reason, and then 5 points tonight to Utah when we're switching Drew Eubanks onto Jordan Clarkson in crunch time, all right? Like, those games easily are in the balance. I mean, we could do things better. We're talking about a 7-game winning streak, despite Dame playing terribly, and we're sitting here at 13-3. Like, you know what I mean? That's the thing, is it's just everything is... This is why it's too early to come to definitive conclusions, is everything is too much in the balance. Like, it's swinging on 1 or 2 small things during the course of games that are ending up in losses or even wins at some point for us. The thing is we started off on the right side of the thing, now we're on the wrong side of it. So this team showed potential, and there's no, like, every team in the West has gone through struggles. Like, we are currently tied for second, I believe. We're tied for second with Memphis. the team ahead of us, I don't think the Jazz are a contender. I still don't think the Jazz are a contender, Eric.
I mean, they're super well coached.
They play
really like
so well.
They play hard. And,
if they keep this
Those
up, he's
teams
an
are always
automatic
tough,
coach of the year. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, this Utah team's good. They're 12-6, but Utah's the 1 seed. This Utah team, their best player is Lauri Markkanen. Like, if our big three are going with Dame, Ant, and Jeremy Grant, all three of those guys can be better than Lauri Markkanen, right? Mm-hmm. Or are better than Lauri Markkanen. Like, maybe Markkanen you put ahead of Grant, but I wouldn't. Because Grant plays better defense and can shoot just as well, has been shooting better than Markkanen this year and scoring at about the same clip. So that's the thing is they play well as a team. We got to make sure we keep playing well as a team, playing the right way, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, we're tied for second right now. It's not like we're struggling more than any other team in the West. Utah got lucky to beat Phoenix yesterday by 1, and then we play into what they wanted, which was Eubanks on their like go-to scorer from the perimeter, who's Jordan Clarkson. We played into their hands tonight when we were up 1 with 2 minutes remaining. So, yeah, not worried. There's a lot of teams with injuries right now. Phoenix is missing Chris Paul and Cam Johnson right now. Paul George left tonight's game. Kawhi has missed some time for the Clippers. Like, the West is wide open. So, long term, got to figure things out, obviously. Got to get healthy. But short term, this game sucked. Shout out David Kutzar, $2 donut, says, thanks for saying my last name correctly. You're welcome, David. Thank you for the donations, man. Appreciate those of you donating tonight. I really appreciate people who donate in the losses. Because they're tough, but it makes things a little better for us. So appreciate y'all. Let's jump into the team stats, Eric.
All right.
What jumps off the page?
I mean, I guess we had 18 turnovers. Not good. Points in the paint. They have no rim protection, so I would have liked to see them attack the basket a little more when
over half our shots were threes.
When they, especially in the quarters, we got them in the penalty early, and we failed to attack really, and our shooters aren't hitting shots. So would have liked to seen them attack a little more. The 12-point lead was nice when we got up to a good start, but that went really quickly. Yeah, I mean, we did a pretty good job getting back on defense. Only 11 fast break points given up. I think I'll take that almost every time. Yeah, I thought the movement was good. I mean, 27 assists. Just imagine if we were hitting shots, what that number would have been.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like Dame was 1 for 12. He got some good 3-point looks. I don't have a problem with the shots that he took. Mm-hmm. The most difficult look was that 35-footer that was up against the shot clock. Like he had to shoot that. So I thought the shot selection today was good. I thought they moved the ball well and got good shots, just didn't shoot the best on them, 31% from 3.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we've talked several times this year about they're shooting a great percentage on threes, but they're hardly taking any. What's the deal? And then they take 42 tonight and only shoot 31%. It's like, yeah. Dang, man. But yeah. I mean, got to the line 27 times again. I mean, we only hit 81.5%, but that's pretty good. That's like league towards the top of the league if you shoot 80% consistently as a team. So
yeah, we were down 19-2 and then took the lead. Good comeback. Would have liked to kept the 12-point lead though. That's the problem. That's a 31-point swing, man. There's no way a 31-point swing should happen over the course of a couple quarters. Mm-hmm. Just the second and third quarters were terrible. Yeah. Absolutely terrible. But like when this team is like down 19, it's like, okay, watch, they're probably gonna flip a switch. It was like they went from down 19 to down 3 in like 4 minutes, it felt like. And
then a timeout got called, Ant got pressured, and we were down like 9 again really
That's
fast.
The problem, is this team, when they go on runs and then the opposing team calls a timeout, they struggle coming out of those timeouts. Normally it's like a really stupid turnover, and then it's like back-to-back buckets for the other team, and then we're down 8 again. Blazers need to do better after opposing teams take timeouts. That's something to watch for. And I talked about it on a previous postgame show. Like today, when Portland made a little bit of a run and Utah called a timeout, Portland was absolutely terrible afterwards, which some of that is, they're calling a timeout for a reason to fix things. So, chalk some of it up to that. But it's also Portland just gets sloppy. The defense isn't the same. Like, whenever you call a timeout to stop their momentum, you really stop their momentum, unfortunately. So, this Blazer team seems very prone to momentum. More so than maybe any other team in the league, unfortunately. And that's why you have the roller coasters. Shout out to FlyGuy95, $5 dono, says, can we talk about the arm hooking by Olynyk and Markkanen? And my section got free beanies on the positive side. Congratulations to your whole section, FlyGuy. Thank you for the 5. Yeah, Olynyk and Markkanen were doing some generational flopping there. I hate that stuff. And Olynyk played against Zaga. I like Olynyk, but that flopping was pissing me off, man. To start the fourth quarter.
Well, it's not even their fault. I mean, if the refs are going to call that crap, that's smart of them.
Yeah, the refs got to be better. The refs were frustrating.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned that, but
I know.
I mean, all I asked for is that it's called fairly both ways, and I don't feel like it was. But
yeah, but I mean, like I said in the past, I don't normally come into post-game streams, even if I think the refs have been terrible. I'll tweet about it when it happens or talk about it when it happens, but normally when I go into post-game shows, it's like if there was things that we obviously did wrong, I'm going to talk about that instead. And that was the case in this game. Utah started 2 for 14 from 3, I believe. They were 2 for 14. And then that means they finished 12 for 25 from 3. So, 3-point defense was good to start the game. Malik Beasley came in and absolutely torched the Blazers. He's a Blazer killer, unfortunately. That is the team stats. Let me load up your breakdowns and we'll jump into those.
Yeah.
How many do you have?
There's 2.
2, okay. Were they positive or negative? Or will we find out?
Well, they're both... Well, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it then if you don't want to.
But it'll lead into conversations about the other. If they're positive, it'll be to illustrate why other things were bad. And if they're bad, they'll show why things should be good.
Yeah, cool. First, let me thank the dono for Molars Kate. $5 donation says, Jez said Utah is ranked 3rd in 3-point defense and 29th in giving up uncontested threes. How the hell does that work? Small sample size, luck. I mean, this Utah defense has been good enough to win them games, and they don't have good defensive players at all. So that's something that I would expect to regress to the mean in this team to start losing more games because the Blazers, I thought, that goes into my whole point, I thought they got the good 3-point looks and just didn't make them.
Especially Dame and Ant had some wide open ones and they missed.
Yep, so they're just lucky. Or maybe that's going to be the next wave in the NBA is actually you want to leave shooters more open. I don't know. But because somebody said during our watch party, Ant needs to be contested to make it. And then the next 3 Ant took after missing 2 open ones was a contested 3 and he made it. So I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Probably just luck. I would expect that to change, though, on their end. Anyway, play number 1. What do you got, Eric?
All right, so we're running a horn set. You have 2 guys up near the top of the key. So Dame's going to pass to Nurk, and then he's going to cut off ball. And Nurk's going to pass across back to Hart in the second picture. And then I just want to pause on this second picture and show this is the first play of the game. I love this action right here, and I wish we would do this basically every time on offense. So Dame is going to set a pick for Grant, who's going to cut across towards the basket, and Nurk's coming down to set a pick on Dame's guy, or whoever goes with Dame out there. And there's so many different variations of this play you can run. And in the third slide, we see that Grant actually has a step on Markkanen, who doesn't go with him. Olynyk has to shade down into the key so Grant doesn't get a wide open lane or dunk. And then I think it's Conley is in a position where he's between Nurk and Dame. So if Dame flares all the way up to the top, he'd have a wide open 3 first play of the game. But Dame's going to come across and he kind of stops parallel to Nurk for a second. And that allows Conley to get around Nurk a little bit. He's still kind of open on this. But so Dame attacks Conley here. And he draws the attention of Clarkson, who is guarding Hart. And so Dame passes back out to Hart towards the end. And Hart does a great job of attacking the teeth of the defense and just gets right in and goes in for a lay-in because of all the attention that off-ball action got between Jeremy, Dame, and Nurk. Just smart play call, good movement off ball. It opens up a lot of possibilities, wrinkles that you can run later in the game. I really like this action. Unfortunately, we didn't really run it much the rest of the game, which is frustrating. But it almost got Dame a wide open three first play of the game, and instead the attention gets Hart a wide open lay-in, and he had one of his most games where he actually played well and tried to score on offense, and I thought this is a good way to get him going.
He had a game that looked like Josh Hart last year, not Josh Hart this year. But yeah, I mean, this is the Blazers offense when it's clicking is just off-ball movement, different options. Dame may be open three. If not, he attacks the closeout, draws a defender, then kicks it, and then Hart attacks the closeout. That's the whole thing with trying to drive, kicking it out for open threes, or you can attack that closeout. Hart's already running into this pass and Clarkson's running towards him. No chance Clarkson stays in front. So you get a layup out of it, or you make multiple guys help and then you kick out, and that's when the ball movement is good, the drive and kick is good. That's when the Blazers offense is really clicking. The thing is, they need to figure out how to do that consistently without turning the ball over like crazy, but a lot of the turnovers don't come out of this style of play. It comes over just sloppiness in general. So this is a good play to illustrate the Blazers offense when it's working, when it's doing well. And that's the thing, is Dame can struggle shooting the ball, but still he's going to draw so much attention, it's going to open things up for others. All Dame has to do is take one dribble to the left, he draws a second defender, it creates a lane for Hart to attack and get a layup. So that's the thing, is people, when Dame's 1 for 12, people say, oh, we would have won without him. Maybe so, but that 1 for 12 doesn't illustrate the fact that he's still going to get a ton of defensive attention, which is going to naturally make it easier on other players on this team.
Yep.
So, anyway. Play number 2. What do you got?
All right, play number 2 is... this is going to be an example of why you do not auto switch. Okay. So we have a late game situation here. 4 minutes left, down 5. We got Ant on the ball guarding Taylor Horton Tucker. We have a situation where Vanderbilt's going to try and free Beasley up on the side, but it's going to be kind of a decoy because eventually the play is going to be for someone else. And so Winslow gets through this. Eubanks stays on Vanderbilt. And then we have some action where Clarkson goes over. Taylor Horton Tucker dribbles to the left, and Clarkson comes over. Winslow and Ant switch, which is perfectly fine here. Because Winslow is probably better on Taylor Horton Tucker anyway. Ant's probably better on Clarkson, so this is fine. But you can already see in this picture what's going to happen. Ant's going to get screened by Vanderbilt, right?
Yep, and they ran this action numerous times.
And after this play, what would we do if immediately as Vanderbilt screens Ant?
What's the question? What would we do
late in the game? What happened in this situation?
I mean, we switched everything. Yeah. It was Eubanks,
we switched everything, so Eubanks would go on to Clarkson, right? Yeah. So this is before that even happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have this possession, right? Watch what happens. So next slide, I zoomed in a little closer. Look at this. Ant's getting completely taken out of the play like normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eubanks is going to have to switch, right? All Beasley has to do is go a little to his right, and he's got Eubanks isolated again, right?
Yep.
But no. Look what Ant does when it's not an auto switch. He fights through the pick and actually gets back in time to where Beasley is not open. Great job by Ant here, right? This is why you don't auto switch, because we have capable players of doing this, including Ant, who many think is a terrible defender. But if you let him have responsibility, maybe he'll come through like this play, right?
Yep, he's good getting through screens. We've been saying it.
So he does that instead of having Eubanks switched onto Beasley and a terrible mismatch, and then Ant has to go in and try to box out Vanderbilt, and we probably give up an offensive rebound even if Eubanks stops him. So Beasley tries to drive on Ant. Ant stays in front of him, right? And so Beasley has to give up his dribble. He's not used to this. And this is a play where Josh Hart jumps the pass and gets a steal in the last slide, all because Ant fought through the screen. We didn't switch. Everyone stayed on their responsibilities, stayed home, and we get a turnover out of it, leading to a fast break. And Hart gets a lay-in after a nice pump fake. So this is an example of we had it working. 4 minutes to go in the game. This is what got us back in the game. Playing, fighting through, being aggressive, not this stupid auto switch crap where you just give up on plays and let the offensive team dictate what's going to happen on a possession. And then for some reason, who cares that it got us back in the game? Let's just forget about that and go right back to the defense that always gets us killed. And let's just do that instead. I don't get it. I don't understand why this continually happens. And that's why I tweeted out after the game that 3 of the 4 losses are on Chauncey for not sticking to this type of defense versus making them switch to the auto switch defense.
Well, especially in crunch time, Eric, because the defensive effort and adrenaline and all that stuff ratchets up in crunch time. I think this is the case for any team in the NBA. If there's 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they're going to fight through screens harder than they will with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. The adrenaline's pumping. It's crunch time. You're gonna, have a lot more effort. Right? Game's on the line, the effort level's going to be higher. So it makes absolutely no sense with the game on the line, especially, to resort to doing some passive switching scheme that gives the opposing offense the matchups they want. And you could tell they really wanted those matchups because they weren't even running anything. They were just running Vanderbilt up to screen so that Portland would switch. They were just hunting the matchups. So, yeah, in crunch time, makes zero sense. Because that's when I would expect guys to fight through screens better than they would the rest of the game. Or crunch time, switch to his... I don't understand going passive in crunch time. I don't understand against Dallas when they go small after Wood fouls out, keeping Eubanks in. And then they supposedly were trying to double Luka, is what Chauncey said, and their backside rotations weren't set. But why do you have, one of the slowest players on the team as part of your backside rotations, I guess, to protect the rim, but they're small, so they're going to run 4 out anyway, and you're going to have to rotate out to the 3-point line. So, yeah, situational coaching has been bad the past 3 or 4 games. I asked chat if there's anything to listen to, worth listening to in the Billups postgame interview. I know you said you wanted to. I'm just curious because somebody just said, Chauncey's just saying we have to be better. All right, let's get through player cards and around the NBA then, and then we'll watch it.
Well, let me just say this because Cody asking me, is this improving over time? Because he said what's the difference between me being doom and gloom and versus him or whatever. Well, here's the deal. Chauncey theoretically still has a huge upside as a coach. So if he starts realizing some of these things that are going wrong, I'm sure they've leaned heavily into analytics and stuff. So if he starts noticing some of these things, if he starts seeing that he's making mistakes with this, it's costing us games at the end, he can absolutely improve this team over time. He can get better over time. Hopefully this is just him being an inexperienced coach and he's thinking something is going to work out this game and it's not. he can absolutely get better as a coach.
Yeah, he does
that's
good
not out of the
things,
realm of
and
possibility.
he has his strengths and weaknesses, and this is a weakness of his. And we're talking about situational struggles, situational mistakes, situational problems, not definitive long-term statements.
We're not
That's
saying like, oh, we're screwed. We're gonna be a play-in team. Like, there's no chance of us winning a first-round series. That's not what we're saying. We're talking about specific things within games they can change to make it better.
Yep, exactly. And that's the whole point I made earlier when we were talking about this was the difference between short-term frustration and long-term definitive conclusions. That's why I went on that whole conversation I went on. I was trying to explain the difference earlier, but let's jump into the player cards. The leading scorer for the Blazers tonight was Anthony Simons, 23 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, almost had a triple-double, 4 steals and a block. I mean, Anthony was, 4 steals. That's a nice number in the block. Like, defensively, I thought he was solid today. Got through screens. Would have liked to have seen him on a Jordan Clarkson in crunch time fighting through screens and give him the challenge. That's the thing, is it's just like, let Ant and Dame especially rise to the challenge. Like, Dame will rise to the challenge in crunch time or against stars or like when the moment calls for it. He will rise to the challenge and have a good defensive possession. Anthony Simons, you just showcased him getting through screens. Let him fight through screens. Like, don't protect these guys. If they fail, they fail. At least don't just give Utah what they want in terms of mismatches. Let Anthony Simons either go out there and succeed fighting through screens or fail getting through screens, right? At least it's a situation where, okay, well, you tried to do the right thing and he just failed to execute. That's maybe a learning experience or something you can build off of, instead of it's like, well, why'd we switch? I don't know. Like, what do we take from that? Maybe we shouldn't switch, but next game they probably will. So... That's where I'm at with Ant. But he missed some open shots, had a couple nice drives, but still kind of struggling in terms of efficiency. But he did get to the line 6 times. He began to the line a lot in November. What do you think about him?
Well, just to your other point, like Dame had that great defensive play at the end of the Spurs game, right? Where he blocks Keita Bates-Diop up in the post or whatever. And that was the most pumped I've seen him in weeks, is that play where he makes a defensive play, right? It's like, man, just give those guys the responsibility and see what happens. And I would like that for both Anthony and Dame. Let them sink or swim in those situations, or don't have them on the court along with Eubanks and stuff like that. Like, have a defensive lineup out there for situational stuff too at times if you don't want to give them that responsibility. Yeah. But he's got to be better efficiency wise. Still a struggle there. Still not shooting the 3-point ball great this year compared to what he's capable of. Of course, he's been pretty streaky this year. He had some moments in this game too where he couldn't hit a shot, and then he gets on fire, and then he can't hit a shot, and then he's on fire again. Just 3 for 6 from 2 isn't bad. He didn't take a lot of mid-range pull-ups this game, which I like. He either got to the basket or took threes, which I'm fine with. The silly turnovers that him and Dame have, we got to cut out. But it's not a terrible game from him. And of course, he can get hot at any moment and shoot you right back into a game like he did tonight. Just kind of frustrating that we couldn't get over the top.
Yep, absolutely. Let's talk about the Trent Wofford graphics gone. It always, whenever it's 10 people, it always puts like the 10th 1 second. The Trent Watford's graphics gone. Let's talk about Trent just because he's second in this order. Didn't record a single stat. Tony Stell's stat line in 5 minutes, and Chris felt like he didn't deserve all the fanciness.
You know it's bad if you don't get Chris's normal trendalicious on there.
Chris was disgusted.
I mean,
he played 5 minutes to start the fourth.
What are you going to do? He doesn't play the whole game, and then you put him in the fourth quarter or like down big.
Next to Nurk at the 4. And I said, Eric, that shooting lineup, they put Trendon in with Nas, who's shot the ball well. Like, Nas Sharp shot the ball well. It was Trendon, Nurk, and it was somebody else. Justice, I think. Yeah. It was like Trendon, Nurk, and Justice. It's like, that's not the 3-point shooting you want. There's like 3 non-shooters. Well, Nurk is just hitting threes, but he's passing up open threes. It's not like he's shooting many.
Yeah, I pointed out that Nas and Shaden are our three best 3-point shooters,
Yeah,
but you didn't
but
seem to like that.
well, if Nurk shot more than 1 3,
I know,
like
I'm
how
just,
many open
I'm
threes
joking.
could he have
I'm
shot in
joking.
this game?
Yeah.
Maybe he should start shooting them because he shot one open three tonight and he made it, and he's 7 for 12 on the season. Like Nurk should start shooting more threes. Eric, I'm at the point where she needs to start shooting more threes. That's just where I'm at.
Yeah.
If they're open, if they're wide open, shoot them.
Yeah.
He got ran off the 3-point. You want to switch to Nurkic? Let's go to Nurk. He got ran off the 3-point line in this game.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I agree with you. If he's open, let it fly. What I don't want to see is sometimes he gets in this habit, and every big man who's a stretch shooter does this. So this is not exclusive to Nurk, but they have a tendency to just then hover around the 3-point line and wait for their next chance to shoot. So I don't want to see him do that.
Yeah, but it's like he's utilized at the top of the arc a lot, where he like gets the ball and then flips to the side of the court and goes over, and it's like part of sets. It should just be a situation where, like, if it's part of a set where you give him the ball at the top of the arc and then he's supposed to go over to the other side of the court and make a pass or do a handoff or whatever, it should be a situation where, okay, well, Nurkic, if you're wide open, shoot that three. I know, because Chauncey said this, yeah, they have sets, but every touch is live, where it's like, if you have a play, you make it. You don't just execute the sets like you're robots and don't take good opportunities if they're there. At this point, a wide open 3-point shot for Nurkic might be a good opportunity. He's 7 for 12 on the season. I mean, yeah, small sample size, but how are you going to figure out if he can do it consistently if he doesn't do it consistently? If he doesn't try it consistently? So, more threes. Do you agree with that? That whole, just as part of the sets where he's already in that position, but not a situation where he's like hovering.
If he's wide open until he missed, unless it dips down back in the 20 percentiles, I'd have no problem with that. I just, like I said, don't want him hunting it.
Yeah. But he was phenomenal today on defense. The rebounding was better with him in the game. In the first half, people were blaming him for the rebounding when, 4 of the 6 offensive rebounds were by bench guys going against Eubanks, who had 0 rebounds in the first 7 minutes of this game. Nurkic rebounded the ball decently. Defensively, I thought he was good. He had 4 fouls. 2 of them were absolute BS. One was that play where he went straight up and Vanderbilt drove straight into him, and it ended up in a point for Vanderbilt. And then one of them was when Olynyk ran into him and then flopped. So he's done a good job playing defense without fouling. And then he's 7 for 9 from 2 in this game. 1 for 1 from 3. Some of the turnovers were a little bit bad, but it was... I'm not going to go in depth on this, Eric. I'm not going to go in depth again, but it was ridiculous to me that there were still people out there blaming Nurkic and hating on Nurkic during this game, because I thought he was the best player on the floor tonight for the Blazers.
Yeah, and one of his misses ended up, he got a tip in after that, so yeah. I hate how that doesn't count or whatever. But, yeah, the turnovers suck. The 5 turnovers are tough. But, I mean, one of them, he loses the ball, a double team in a post. But I mentioned this in the post game right before he turned that over. The other guys are all standing on the other side of the court. It's the same thing that happened with Melo, and it used to drive me crazy. I mentioned it almost every post game stream those 2 years that Melo were here. It's like you don't have to just stand there if he has the ball. He's wanting to pass if you're open, and it's frustrating to me that a guy comes and double teams him and steals the ball from him, and his man just stands next to another player on our offense to where he doesn't have an open lane for Nurk to pass him to and make him pay for doubling. And then one of his turnovers was kind of a low pass that he couldn't handle. I don't know if that should have necessarily been given to him or the passer on that. And then, yeah, he got ran off the 3-point line, tried to drive, lost the ball. But yeah, so I saw in chat saying Nurk just seems to kill our momentum at times. with the with a
What
bad
are we
player turnover.
saying? What
And
are
like,
we saying? He
how,
got subbed out of the game, and they immediately went on a run. What? Like what? Why are we making stuff up? What? It's like
well, it's like, so like Winslow had that turnover, right? Like, where's that same thing for Winslow? Like, it was a tie ball game, I think, at that point.
this whole team can't carry
Yeah,
momentum
or
through timeouts. Like
yeah, we had Dame and Ant have had horrendous turnovers this year. It's not exclusive to any one person. It's just like people hate Nurk for some reason. So like he turns the ball over once in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden he's the worst player ever after he's been a good. He is having a great game. But yeah, it's just kind of frustrating.
Rump, he was our best defender today. He's not as slow as you say he is. He's can dunk a lob. Like, dude, how are you coming in here like he was our best player tonight, and you're saying you came in and had a comment earlier acting like he was the reason why we're being held back. Just stop, dude.
It still doesn't. Okay, and to what we were saying, he's saying, oh, he got played off the floor. That's why you have to play Eubanks. No, don't play either of them. Like, you don't need a center in the game if the other team doesn't have a center and you want a switchable lineup. Like, that's the problem. It's not.
Yeah, Eubanks had a really good second half, too, when he was, like, not forced to guard Jordan Clarkson, right? Like, he had a really good second half. So, like, I understand, I guess, why Chauncey kept going with Eubanks. It wasn't a knock on Nurk, though. Eubanks was, like, 6 for 6 in the did he score in the first half? I don't remember. But he had a good second half. You just don't keep going with them when you start switching everything. So it was ridiculous. Chauncey didn't end the game with Eubanks because Nurkic didn't play really, really well. He was going with the lineup that sparked the comeback. But it was also the same lineup that gave up the lead in the first half. And Eubanks was a big reason why. Like, at halftime, Nurk was a +9 and Eubanks was a -14 or something like that. Now, that changed in the second half because Eubanks was in and helped spark that run, but Eubanks was awful the first half. He was really good in the second half. But you don't switch your center onto guards. But blaming Nurkic, or talking about Nurkic after this game is just silly to me. Like, if it was easy to go out and get a freaking, I don't know, Bam Adebayo with a 3-point shot, yeah, or Embiid, sure. Yeah, like, our center position definitely looks a lot worse, Romp, because you're a Sixers fan and you have Joel Embiid. Yes, Joel Embiid would raise this team to the next level. But, I mean, Nurkic was good defensively today. He was good defensively.
He was good offensively.
He was good offensively. The rebounding was worse without him in the game. So what part of the game, other than, okay, he had a couple bad turnovers, 5 turnovers doesn't look good. Everything else, he was good.
And I don't know why. I mean, I know this isn't exclusive to Blazer fans, but it's almost like it has to be either Nurk or Eubanks. You have to pick your side. You cannot like both, and you cannot hate
tribalism.
Both. You have to either love Eubanks and want him to be the starting center over Nurkic because he's garbage, or we need a better backup because Nurkic is great, and when Eubanks comes in, we suck, right? Like, this is what I was talking about a few streams ago. There's no nuance to any of your guys' arguments sometimes. Eubanks was playing good. You leave him in. It has nothing to do with Nurkic being crappy or not playing well or whatever. Like, Chauncey just thought he should go with Eubanks. It's sometimes just an instinct thing. And like Tori said, that lineup had gotten us back in the game after we were down 19. So,
and obviously going with Eubanks wasn't the right decision.
Right.
So
then Romp says, got to get Watford where he was a small ball 5. Yeah, like, try some new things out. Like, late in the games, have a more switchable lineup. Watford would have been at least more switchable than Nurkic or Eubanks. So, like, I just want a situation where we can acknowledge Eubanks had a great second half. It doesn't mean Nurkic sucks and can't ever be our starting center anymore, and that we're never going to win because Nurkic is our starting center. And if Nurk closed out this game, it doesn't mean that Eubanks can't be a capable backup, because he's shown at times he actually is a somewhat capable backup, and he has played a lot better than most people thought he would this year. And Chauncey obviously has faith in him. Maybe a little too much faith at the end of the games. Maybe that's something Chauncey needs to look at. But like, this isn't a case where we have to pit these two against each other. We have both of them, and they can play together, or not play together, but play on the same team and complement each other when the other one's not on the court. And then at the end of games, if the other team has a small lineup, don't play either of them.
I will say this: I do give Eubanks some crap for stuff that I know people would give Nurkic crap for because they won't give Eubanks crap for that.
You've gotten kind of annoying with that. But yeah.
I don't, dude. It's because everybody else is gonna be annoying. Yeah. I can sit here and say he had a good second half, and not, and I agree with your whole thing. There's people out there that can't admit Nurk had a good game and will sit here blaming him and saying he's the problem with our team. He's what's holding us back. This and that and this and that. But he was phenomenal tonight. If he has a game where he sucks, come talk about how he sucked, then go ahead. But people are too harsh on this man. And he's, I still don't know if he's 100% because I always say abductor strain. Yeah, the adductor strain.
Isn't the abductor what Dame and
abductor and adductor and
hopefully he doesn't have to have that surgery.
Yeah. Josh Hart was aggressive tonight. That was good to see. 6 for 10 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, 6 for 6 free throw line. No turnovers, 2 assists. Mm-hmm. Needed this from Josh Hart. You probably would have had more assists if guys could have made 3-point shots at a higher clip. But this is the type of Josh Hart we need, especially if Dame's going to be out.
Yep. I thought Josh played exactly how we need him to play most of this game. If he's open for 3, you got to shoot it. If you have a path to the basket, take it. We saw him push the ball up in transition and got some easy baskets too and got to the free throw line. Like, where did that go the last few games there? Like, before we needed a furious comeback at the end. Like, where was that at the beginning of this game? Why aren't we grabbing rebounds and going fast on offense at the beginning of games? Doesn't make sense to me. Would like to see that more, but definitely Josh needs to have this mindset. He's not going to always score 19 points. And above that, we don't need him to score 19 points most games. We just need him to be the usual glue guy, but got to make teams pay if they're going to leave him. And I thought he did a better job of at least keeping the defense honest tonight.
Yep. Shout out to Boom, $5 donation, says, don't worry about the missed chat that we had of his earlier this season. He says, no worries about the missed chat. I love you guys and listen to everything, even if I can't make it live. Keep it up. I'll be there on the court one day. Thank you, Boom, for the $5 donation, man. Appreciate all your support. Thank you for listening and donating and all that stuff, man. You guys
is he implying that he plays?
Maybe. I don't know. But
interesting to find out.
Yeah, but thanks, Boom. Yeah, it makes losses easier because I was dreading going live because I was very frustrated. But all of you who show support in a loss, because not everybody shows support in a loss. Like we had a lot more people here after the 4-game winning streak, during the 4-game winning streak, and I know people can't catch a live or whatnot, and it was a lot of excitement. Like I get it, but definitely less people in here during losses. Those of you who do tune in and show support and all that stuff in a loss makes it better. So we greatly appreciate you guys. We appreciate everyone. It's just losses are tough on both of us as fans, but then also it's I care about how the stream does and. I want people to listen, so it makes it even harder as a Blazer fan to deal with losses when I know that, there might not be as many people in here, that sort of thing. That's just the truth. That's just the content creator side of it makes it even a little bit harder. But you guys definitely make it better.
Well, we just had a meltdown like 10 minutes before we come up watching the end of this game on stream, too. So.
I spiked my hat off the ceiling. All right, I don't know if there's a clip of that. I mean, maybe, I don't know if I should leave that stream up. I will, but I lost my mind. More so than I probably ever have on a stream, dude. I was so mad at the way we lost this game. Shout out Hyper Prime member for 13 months says, could Baji possibly outdo Eubanks for backup? I don't think so. And Eric, I don't think...
No, the Baji's just like a raw developmental guy. I'd be surprised if, without an injury, if he even sees the court much. Obviously, I'd love to see some blowouts in a positive way for the Blazers to where we can play some of those guys. But as much as I love Baji, I don't think he's ready for like NBA action, and I think it's pretty obvious that even without the injury, Sarr wasn't going to be like playing over Eubanks either beginning of the season. I actually said that before the start of the season when a lot of people were trying to say that Sarr could be our backup center and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I would love for him to come in and provide some actual meaningful minutes and be that good. But I mean, as much as I love him, I don't think he's like the kind of guy who is ready to come in and play. But at the same time, I didn't think Sharp was either. I mean, I wanted Sharp to play, but like I didn't think he would be as good as he's been this season. So you never know. But so I never want to say never. But I feel like they're just going to have him as like an emergency setter that's not injured versus Sarr, who knows when he'll be back.
Jeremy Grant, 14 points, 5 for 11 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3, keeps up the hot 3-point shooting, but he had a quiet first half, was better in the second half, kind of helped us come back at a certain point in this game. We just needed more from him in the first half, I thought, especially with Dame struggling, Ant struggling. He had a decently efficient night, especially shooting the 3-ball. Would have liked to have maybe gotten him a few more touches in his 37 minutes, only 11 shots for him, and he's been very efficient all year long. Needed more from Jeremy Grant tonight, but I'm not sure if it's his fault. When Dame and Ant is struggling, we need him to step up and maybe be that number one guy, which he has this year, but only 14 points tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he played pretty well. But he had some success driving and posting up earlier in the season, and he hasn't quite been as good in those situations from 2-point line the last few games. So hopefully it's just a blip. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with him. I feel like we should design more shots to get him like coming off a screen and shooting, catch and shoot. Maybe instead of having him trying to pull up over someone. But yeah,
that's where it's like maybe run some more things for him if your other two guys are struggling. So that's why I thought maybe it's not his fault he had a quiet first half. It's hard to say.
And I don't understand why he wasn't on marketing for most of this game. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, what do I know?
I mean, Markkanen gets his points in such weird ways for a 20-point per game scorer, man. It's just like, he's the type of guy, I said this. You remember that play where Grant blocked a ball off the backboard and Markkanen was just right there. He just catches it all in one motion, puts it back, and gets fouled and gets an and one. And he's just like luckily in the right spot. He's a 20-point per game scorer who doesn't really get it off the dribble at all. So he's an interesting player. Would have liked to have seen Grant on him too. Dame, we already talked at length about. Don't really have anything left to say on that. And then Nas, 2 for 2 from 3, 3 for 3 from the field. Played 10 minutes, had 8 points. Played 10 minutes, had 8 points on a night where other guys couldn't hit anything. How do you feel about him playing 10 minutes?
I don't get it, man. I felt like he played pretty well when he was out there.
Why? Like, bro, go put him in instead of Eubanks in the final minutes.
I feel like he has some minutes restriction that we don't know about.
But
he's
to
like,
10, though?
I know. It makes
like,
no
he's
sense,
been playing 15. It was like,
the trainer told Chauncey before the game, Nas is not allowed to play more than 10 minutes in this game. And Chauncey stuck right to it. He was like, "Oh man, he's playing good, but it's 10 minutes. I got to take him out. Sorry." I don't understand, man.
That's part of the frustration. Who'd they have in the final moments? They had Ant, they had Hart, they had Winslow, they had Grant, and they had Eubanks. Right?
Yep.
That was the 5-man lineup. Put in Nas instead. Have Hart, Winslow, Grant, and Nas as your 4 switchable defenders. I mean, like, Hart was already on Markkanen for the most part, and Markkanen was the center in that closing lineup for Utah. He was the biggest guy on the floor. You could have had your shooting guard switch on to their center. Like, Nas has shot the ball well. He's 2 for 2 from 3, 3 for 3 from the field, provides energy. Defensively, he's starting to show some improvement, I think, especially off ball, like rotating, being a presence around the rim a little bit. Play him to end the game and then you can switch everything. Why is Eubanks in when you're switching everything? It just pisses me off, man. I don't understand Nas playing 10 minutes in this game.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that once Gary Payton's back that he would have been in there at the end instead of Eubanks maybe, but who knows if Chauncey's not playing obvious lineups now. I don't know. I hope we get to a point this season where down the stretch, needing stops, we have a defensive lineup out there at some point.
I just please make this like a positive experience, this game, where like Chauncey learns, okay, I should put a switchable lineup in to end things. Maybe I should play Nas more. I mean,
But I mean, it was pretty obvious to us after the Dallas game, right? Why didn't that lesson get learned then?
Frustrating. I'm just gonna move on. Sharp, 4 points. Hit a couple of buckets early on, but struggled from 3, 0 for 3. I mean, he's been shooting the 3-ball phenomenal. Missed a couple shots short in this game, and defensively, I think he was pretty rough. Gave up a couple of straight line drives. This was one of Sharp's worst games of the season, I think, on both ends. So, sucks,
yeah.
But...
I mean, he's gonna have these things. Still got 22 minutes.
That's when you keep Nas in instead of Sharp or something.
Yeah, or as someone mentioned in chat, sorry, I forgot who it was, but I mean, at some point, Durant probably shouldn't be playing 37 minutes either.
Yeah, so, you think? Yeah. You think? Yeah. Also, Sharp played more tonight than he did last game when he had 20.
A minute more, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean, part of that was
stay calm.
Dame going out, so
yeah.
Which maybe a bright spot back to seeing Shaedon Sharp start, maybe.
Yeah. There is no bright spot with Dame out, but Justice had a point, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 1 for 2 from the free throw line, 4 turnovers, and 5 fouls in 26 minutes. I mean, he gave us a spark there in the second half just with his defense and some of his playmaking. Had that nice dime to Eubanks and, kind of gave us what we needed in that moment. But also, it's just, I mean, the dude just is hella inefficient. He's so inefficient, man. You said this during the stream, like, what'd you say?
During the stream?
Yeah. You said you had more. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I just said in the stream that, he's so much better in the open floor, like, pushing the ball up. And I don't understand why we play slow when he's in the game. Yeah. He's not been good in the half-court offense when we've slowed it down over the last handful of games or so. I know he was kind of hurt. He missed a couple games. But, we saw it in the fourth quarter when he got out and started running, he was great, but then he slows it down and dribbles the ball off his foot but I mean, I definitely like having Winslow on this team, and he's definitely a reason why our defense is where it is, at least. But if you're not a primary ball handler or seeing the ball a lot, the 4 turnovers is tough when you're not scoring much either.
Yep. We got that's the end of the player cards. Let's look at the scores, and then we'll listen to Chauncey's interview, and then we'll be done. Hawks beat the Raptors 124-122 off a buzzer-beating lay-in, wide-open lay-in after a full-court press. Toronto pressed with 4 seconds left and left AJ Griffin wide open under the basket. Weird. I don't really understand
after they tied the game.
Selling out like that full court with 3.5 seconds left, but Trae Young threw a lob and AJ Griffin had the buzzer beater.
I gotta think they were just trying to pressure them into taking a bad shot, but someone blew the coverage.
Yeah, you don't leave the guy under the hoop. Trae Young gets past 4 guys. It's just bad. The Pacers beat the Magic. The Pacers are 9-6 on the season. Surprise team in the East.
I think they won 8 out of 10 or something.
Yeah, they're playing phenomenal basketball. Magic still without Banchero, though, to be fair. Had 29 from Franz Wagner, 21 from Bamba, 22 from Bol Bol in the loss. For the Pacers, 22 and 14 assists from Halliburton, who's been phenomenal this season. He's probably going to be an all-star. Neesmith had 19 off the bench. Turner had 20 on 8 for 13 from the field. And then Mathurin had 12 on 4 for 12 shooting off the bench. You want to read the next game? The T-Wolves beat the Sixers.
All right. Well, I saw the T-Wolves got off to a horrible start in this game. Their first 11 possessions, they were 0 for 7 with 6 turnovers, but somehow right the ship against the 76ers, who were without both Maxey now for 3 to 4 weeks, I believe, and Harden's still out. I don't remember how many weeks he's been out, but he was going to be out for at least a month. So they started their Melton backcourt tonight, and they actually did okay. They 27 for Milton, 19 for Melton. Embiid was only 6 of 15 from the field, but he finished with 32 points because he got to the line 20 times. And then for the Timberwolves, their best player tonight was, well, their leading scorer was Anthony Edwards, who had 25 points, but he was 7 of 21 from the field, including 2 for 10 from three-point line. D'Angelo Russell finally had a decent game, 7 of 13 from the field, 19 points for him.
Yep, and then the Clippers blow out the Spurs 119-97. Paul George left this game with some sort of injury. He had 20 on 8 for 11. Or no, he had 21 on 8 for 12. Reggie Jackson had 20 on 8 for 11. And then 26 off the bench from Norman Powell, who finally had a good game. 10 for 16, 5 for 8 from 3 for the former Blazer. Spurs led by Pirtle, who had 20 points, 8 rebounds in his 25 minutes of play. He's been playing good basketball. McDermott, 5 for 6 shooting. He had 13. They were without Vassell in this game, though, who's kind of their number one offensive option now.
Did Keldon play?
Keldon ended up playing, and let me see what he did. I accidentally clicked off of it. Keldon, 5 for 15, 11 points, 1 for 5 from 3. So not a good game for Keldon. Here are the standings in the East. Thoughts on the East, Eric? Pacers in 5th.
It's crazy. Yeah. Well, Boston, Milwaukee rising to the top. Cleveland's been struggling. It'll be interesting to see when we play them if they're getting it back together, but they have not had a good run of it lately. Yeah. Washington now 2 games above 500.
Milwaukee's been losing some games too, and we play them next.
Yep. Yeah, the whole ladder thing with Giannis last night. Toronto's fallen lately. They've just been ravished with injuries, so they need to find a way to stay afloat until they get their guys back. Philadelphia is now going to have to play a stretch without their 2 guards, which is going to be tough for them. Brooklyn, who knows what's going to happen now that Kyrie's back. Jimmy Butler, I think, is going to miss a few games for Miami. So, yeah, a lot of interesting stuff in the East. But, yeah. Gonna find out this road trip, right?
Yep, and here's the West. I accidentally clicked to it early somehow. But Utah's number 1. Portland losing the tiebreaker with Memphis due to their loss to them earlier this season. Both those teams at 10-6. Phoenix, Dallas, Denver, half game back at 9-6. Clippers half game back at 10-7. Kings have won a lot of games. They're only a game back at Portland. They're at 8-6. New Orleans is 9-7. You got 9 teams above 500, 10 teams at 500. That doesn't include Golden State, who's 7-9. In Oklahoma City's 7-9. So the West is very top heavy. The Lakers 4-10, Houston, San Antonio. Those are kind of the 3 bottom feeders right now. But OKC's been good because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been playing amazing. But you just got a lot of solid teams, but no clear favorite, and that's going to make for a fun West. I mean, I don't know, man. None of these teams, I feel like if Portland's playing their style, none of these teams so far are teams where it's like, dang, they couldn't beat them in a playoff series, or I wouldn't be confident in them having a chance in that series, right? That's what you want in the playoffs, so we'll see if any team separates and becomes that team that you're scared to play in the playoffs. But right now, I mean, it's just you got 12 teams within 4 games. You got 9 teams within 2 games. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be entertaining to see how this changes. Hopefully it changes for the better if you're Portland.
Yep.
But let's look at the next 5 games. Milwaukee, Cleveland, New York, and Brooklyn on this road trip. At least It's an East Coast trip, but New York and Brooklyn, I mean, you're in the same city there, and then you come home to LA and Milwaukee, Cleveland, New York. Not a terrible East Coast trip for 4 games, considering, you're flying across the country, but you got the Bucks. Why have they been losing lately? Is Drew still out?
Drew, I think, might have came back. No. I think it was questionable last game. I'm not sure if he played or not. I didn't check.
Yeah, so we'll see if he plays. But they've been starting Javon Carter, Marjon Beauchamp, Giannis, Bobby Portis, and Brook Lopez. That's a pretty big starting lineup.
I think Patty Connaughton might be back soon too.
Yeah. So if you're Portland, next game with Dame assumedly out, looks like he's at least going to miss a couple of games according to Casey Holdall. I'd expect it to be at least until December. I think the Blazers will be cautious with this. But, I mean, they're starting Giannis, Bobby Portis, and Brook Lopez. You probably go Justice Winslow maybe in the next game and put him up against Giannis and go big. Because that's otherwise you're going to put Jeremy Grant on Giannis and Josh Hart on Bobby Portis. How do you match up? That's the question.
Yeah, it's tough.
We'll preview that game on Monday as part of Blazers Uprise Live. That's on our second channel going live at 3:30 p.m. Subscribe to Blazers Uprise Live. Link in description box below.
Yep.
But and then Cleveland, New York, I don't know. Thoughts on any of this?
This will be tough, especially now without Dame probably. It's already a daunting road trip, but yeah. Just gotta, like we talked about before the last one, just gotta find a way to at least tread water over this last stretch of games in November, and find a way to not let it completely fall apart.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, even without Dame, we have some good games like we played against New Orleans, the first game against Phoenix on that back-to-back of the road trip. We've had some moments. Memphis, we almost came back and won. So, yeah, just got to find a way to pull out a couple of these games and not just go 0-5 on this stretch.
Yep. Let's listen to Chauncey. I got that queued up and ready to go.
It's fun. I came in at halftime and I really thought we created and got some really good looks. In the first half, just couldn't make a shot, So I was sort of guys just don't get bored, making passes, keep passing the ball, pass the ball. We'll make shots. What I was more concerned with was our turnovers. In the first half, I think I had 14, and just the fact that they got good looks too a lot of times, and I'm saying I don't like the shots that they're generating, even though I like ours. And then we come out in the second half, and they started making a few. Boom, we get down big, and I just felt like we took too long to fight in the game. It's just hard. You got to play perfect basketball against a good team coming back from 19. So I thought that cost us.
I think of all this season, that was the easiest someone was able to get to the basket. What kind of breakdowns were happening?
Yeah, we had a tough time because they do shoot so many threes. We closed out so hard to try to take them off of the line. Well, when you do that, it's almost kind of what they want, They want to start the chase, is what I call it. They start the chase, boom. You get downhill, now somebody got to help. You got to pull the trick, Now you're chasing, and now they're generating three-point shots and layups a lot of times. So we didn't do a good job of keeping the ball in front of us either.
Do we know anything about it?
No, not yet.
What do you feel like you guys need to improve upon going into this road trip?
We got a few things. One, the consistent thing is obviously the turnovers. We let a very good team who their main thing is transition. When we let them get 28 points off of our turnovers, that's tough. Lucky we had a chance to win a game like that. So that's something that we got to keep an eye on, But I thought our ball movement was really good. Obviously, I think we got to guard the ball better. We got to keep guys in front of us better than we did tonight.
Turnovers lead to so many points. Is that more just being a good transition team, or was that some of the transition defense? What did you see there?
No, when you turn the ball over, there's no way to have a good transition defense. It's the NBA. Guys got 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s. They're probably going to convert most of the time. So it don't matter what the name of the team is. It's the NBA. These guys are too good.
I feel like this is kind of a lesson in how fragile the NBA can be, like what that fine line is between You can't see it that same way, or have you expressed that at all?
Oh, I do. Of course I have. You come into a game like this where we're number one, they're number two, but the 9th seed is a game and a half out from, it's a very thin line, and you got to always kind of be playing your type of basketball. You get away from that for even a little bit. I think I called one timeout, and I said, we actually looked like we played last night. They played last night and had a hell of a dogfight game last night, We looked like we played last night, So that was also something that I'm saying. We just have to be better about, like, our starts, and more focused on, like, whatever we say we're doing that night on the game plan and not ease our way into the game.
I feel like you guys have kind of lost that edge since you got out. San Antonio, you guys kind of sludged through that, probably not legit type players.
Mm-hmm.
And Brooklyn's okay, but you haven't had that like buzz to your team. Do you feel like you lost it somewhere?
No, I don't feel that way. I just think that the NBA is tough, man. The parity in the NBA is just really tough. And, I felt like we stole the game against San Antonio. We didn't play well enough to really win the game, but we won. I feel like Brooklyn stole the game from us, And then tonight was just, two pretty good teams playing, and they ended up winning the game. But I can't say that we lost something. I just think that it's very fragile, and it's a very thin line as to if you're going to be a really good team, like, there's things that you got to hold yourself accountable for every single night. Who are you? And I think we're absolutely making a ton of progress in that. But, we have some nights where it takes us too long.
Back to turn. A couple more.
You mentioned Trey, a couple of months ago, he was going away. Changed everything. Now that you've experienced a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
So did you kind of expect that it's going to come out at some point?
It always does. It always does. The season is so long, and, you're going to have some go your way that you like, dang, how did we win that game? And you're going to have some where you like, man, we had a chance, So, yeah, it always pretty much evens out. That's why you got to kind of stay even keel most of the time and just keep trying to get better and keep building.
Back to turnovers for a second. That has been a consistent thing from the first game of the season until now. When you're coaching those, how do you manage, like, correcting those things without, maybe making you guys second guess? And what do you think has been the truth?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is, just carelessness. Some of it is other teams, it's ball pressure, and pressuring our passes and things like that and their activity. Some of it is unfamiliarity, with each other. So there's a lot of things to put into that. But at the end of the day, we just have to be better, regardless of what the problem, the issue is. We got to have a solution and be better, man.
Last one. Remember you played in Portland, right?
I thought he was in the fourth, and then I took him out.
Bro, like, Nurk didn't play in the fourth, correct? No, dude, no. You can easily go to play-by-play on ESPN in the time between the end of the game and this, or you can just, I don't know, pay attention and know if he was in the fourth quarter or not, instead of coming into the press conference ill-prepared saying, Nurkic was in the game to start the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah, Nurk
wasn't.
in the fourth. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was wrong. Nurkic wasn't in the fourth quarter of this game, right? No, he was. Just, oh my god, man, that stuff just annoys me. Anyway, sorry, there's still 22 seconds. I'll play the final 22 seconds, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Nurk played pretty good, to be honest with you, but I liked, the lineup with Drew right there. I mean, I had thought about making a change later, but chose not to.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right, cool. I mean, that's thoughts, I guess.
All right, so the thing that bothered me is I felt they did not play well against Brooklyn, and he said that Brooklyn stole the game from them. It's like you only get a game stolen from you if you play well and the other team just happens to win. So that's
he's
I
been
don't like
pretty on about like we haven't played well tonight in games they have won, so I don't really care about that.
All right. He said we waited too long to fight. Right?
I think that's true.
Where true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the follow-up? Why did that happen? Why didn't you guys feel some
Or the
urgency to
question
win this
about-
game after losing last game, right?
Or the question about switching Eubanks onto
Okay.
guards.
Yeah.
Would have loved that, but
That was the next thing he said. Didn't keep the ball in front of us on defense. Well, why did you have a non-switchable lineup and auto-switched at the end of the game then, Chauncey? No, we don't get those questions answered, unfortunately. So, yeah.
see, man, like I was hoping this year maybe we would have somebody asking those questions.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not gonna say, but that was like one of the positives. Like, okay, maybe he'll ask that type of question because that's the type of questions I want asked.
No, this is the thing, man. People get the press pass and they don't. They feel like they have to ask, or they can't ask a tough question because maybe they pull their pass at some point or something. I don't know, but I feel like
They'll do it at times. Just what was the thought process with switching Eubanks there at the end of the game, and how do you think that went? Like, I mean, that was such a cookie cutter. That's why I don't listen to post game press conferences that often on post game shows, and that's why I asked chat earlier. Like, is this worth listening to? Because, yeah, I don't. That was a good way to wind down the stream, I guess, like before bed.
I just want, so you gave up a ton of points at certain points with certain lineups. Like, what's the difference between the first quarter defense and the second quarter defense? Like, try to get them to explain it more. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, I'm sure everyone, because, I mean, a lot of the people asking the questions also think that Nurk is the problem and probably thought Nurk was the problem in this game, and that's why they asked him about Nurk instead of asking stuff that they don't see, like why we're switching Eubanks onto a guard at the end of the game.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, we forgot to thank this dono earlier. Shout out Boom. $5 donation says, I definitely play. I'm a dad as well, mid-30s and life is busy, but I plan to make it out to your open gym one day, meet you guys in Hoop, Rip City, heart emoji. Yeah, this past off season we had some meetups outdoor, but still had some meetups. Now the weather isn't cooperating, obviously, and gyms are a lot harder to rent, but next off season we'll definitely do some more of those. Thank you, Boom, for the donations tonight. Greatly appreciate it. And do you have any final words for this post-game stream, Eric?
No, just frustrating loss, man, and I just want to give a special appreciation to everyone who showed up in chat, even if we disagreed with you. Thank you for being part of the show and giving your opinions, and I hope everyone has a good rest of your weekend.
Yep, we'll catch you again on Monday with 2 streams, one on Blazers Uprise Live, second channel link in description, and then one on the main channel post-game show, as always, right here on Blazers Uprise. We're pushing for 7.7k subs. I don't know if we reached it yet with this stream, but we're getting closer to 8,000. So if you have a Blazer fan that you need to give some good content to, share our channel with them as we push towards 8k subs. Would love to hit that mark before the new year. That's the goal. 8k subs would be a cool mark to hit.
Weezy says last 10 games now is shooting 51, 48, 91 splits.
Averaging 9 minutes a game.
Yeah, basically.
So, yeah, we'll preview the road trip and the Bucks game on Monday when we know maybe who's going to start and who's going to be playing for Milwaukee. That'll be a part of Picks Against the Spread as always. If you haven't tuned into our second channel, definitely tune in. The Picks Against the Spread segment is a lot of fun. We pick that day's NBA games based on the spread. The spreads in that segment are presented by BetOnline, as is this post-game show. Once again, thank you to them for sponsoring us and for sponsoring the watch party earlier. This has been the Blazers Uprise post-game show presented by BetOnline. Tough loss tonight. Hopefully the Blazers can get some things done without Dame. The West is topsy-turvy and a ton of parity. I mean, the Blazers sitting there tied for second at this point. I guess I would have taken that. Just, it always sucks losing games, especially when you lose them like this. Anyway, if you missed any part of the stream, feel free to watch it back and hear us rant about that sort of stuff. We ranted about the switching. We talked about Dame shooting. Talked about a lot of different things on this post-game show. And, it was a therapy session, unfortunately, Eric.
Yeah.
But
yeah, hopefully we get some unexpected wins on the trip to make up for it.
I mean, that's what they've been doing, so nothing is expected with this team, for better or worse, but we're along for the ride, along with you guys. Hopefully you have a good rest of your night and a good rest of your weekend. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.